Espero que estén disfrutando de este programa como yo lo estoy haciendo. Ahora, para continuar, nos vamos a encontrar con Mack Stevens y otra de sus historias. En este caso es también con una estrella de Sun Records. El nombre de esta persona es Jimmy Haggett y lo que él cuenta es muy singular. ¿Quieren escucharlo? Vamos con Mack Stevens.
Howdy folks, I'm Mack Stevens. I'd like to play a little bit and talk a little bit about an old friend of mine. He was on Sun Records, and his name was Jimmy Haggett. He was a country singer, really cool dude. He had the misfortune though of coming out with the next record right after Carl Perkins hit with Blue Suede Shoes. Carl Perkins' record sold 2.5 million copies at least. Jimmy's record sold 448 copies, that's all. So, he didn't make a whole lot of records, but he was part of the Sun empire, you'd say, even with just 448 records sold. Well, he was a big mystery to most collectors and people who are interested in the history. I found him in 1989, late 89 I think it was, living up on a mountaintop in Piedmont, Missouri, living in a house full of taxidermy animals that he had shot himself while hunting. He was interesting. Came to the door when I went to see him. I'd called him long distance, said, "Hey, Jimmy Haggett?" "Yeah." "I'd like to come visit you." "Why?" "Well, I like your music." "Okay." So I go to his house. It took 4 hours to get there. And he came to the door. It was about 9 at night. He had a .38 pistol hanging out of his pocket. He had a very drunk sheriff's deputy sitting at his kitchen table. Jimmy lived alone and was kind of worried about, this weirdo coming to see him. It was just me and my dad who was along for the ride. So anyway, we get to talking and Jimmy goes, "You like my music?" "Yes." "Well, who played fiddle?" I said, "Bernie Gwaltney, and he died last year." Jimmy goes, "Who played steel guitar for me?" I said, "Speed Moody, and he died too some years back." He goes, "Oh hell, you're legit." So he went and he got everything that had to do with his career. And for the next 6 hours, I sat there and looked through stuff. And then I started buying it from him. Good things. Jimmy owned a club called the B&B Club in Gobbler, Missouri. And he'd have local acts come through. Like in 1958, he has contracts of all of his people that came through, and they'd sign, and he'd pay them $50 or $100 to come play his club. Here's one. Carl Perkins, along with his brother Clayton Perkins, W.S. Holland, and Eddie Starr. Carl's brother Jay had just died recently before this show. They got paid $300 in 1958 to do a show. That's kind of nice. And there's an old poster. These are all copies because I sold all the originals to the Memphis Music Museum in 1995 or 6. This is Jimmy Haggett and the Daydreamers. That was his band. They were going to play there in Piedmont, Missouri. And then he had 2 different contracts of a young guy named Elvis Presley who autographed his copies, and along with old Scotty and Bill. And they played for $125, and that was April 8th of 1955. I've been to Piedmont, kind of a small place. But anyway, after his Sun record flopped mightily, he did go back for one more session. He had been doing country, but then he did a session of rockabilly. Kind of like Carl Perkins. So Jimmy had gotten rid of the fiddle and the steel guitar, told his guitar player to play a lot more like Carl Perkins. And they did, and they were excited. And Sam Phillips did not see fit to issue the results. So Jimmy went on to record for a few more labels, and he did promotion. He was the head of the local musicians union, and then he got into local politics and such. What a cool guy he was. So he died back in 2000, and He just had a life. It was pretty colorful, reading between the lines. Very colorful life. But anyway, years later, this idiot named Mack Stevens, a couple of years back, recorded for Bear Family a tribute to Sun Records. No, this is not an advertisement. Buy it. But it's a good album, and I did my own version of Jimmy Haggett's. This is Jimmy Haggett's song by me. They don't know how it all began. It's too late now to make amends. Same song, just rocked it up a little bit. And if that ain't a hit, I'll eat my hat, okay? I'm showing off my head right now. I've shaved it because I had some hair plugs put in and I want to look good for my public. Give me about 3-4 months and I'll have me a pompadour. So anyway, that's my story, very brief, though it didn't feel like it, of Jimmy Haggett. So I've got a whole lot more of these. I've probably got 100 different contracts with different artists by Charlie Feathers, Bud Deckelman, Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison. Lots and lots of just great popular and not so popular luminaries of the Memphis, Tennessee area. So sometime I'll think of something else to say and we'll come back to this and just enjoy. So y'all be good now, you hear?